Hey 3W, this week in reading we are going to be reading a biography, and it is called Wilma Unlimited, How Wilma Rudolph Became the World's Fastest Woman. And this week it is a biography because we are going to be learning about Wilma's life from the day she was born until now, or until she was able to become the fastest woman in the world. Last week when you guys read Brave Harriet, we didn't really learn about Harriet's life from the beginning to the end. We just learned about one section of her life, and that's why it was a narrative nonfiction. But this week it's a biography, a book all about someone's life, written by somebody else. Wilma did not write this book. It's nonfiction, so it's true, and it's going to have all facts and information and some pictures. The story takes place in Tennessee in the 1940s when, since Wilma was an African American, she was treated very unfairly. Her parents had to work very, very hard for her to have the things she wanted. We learned about Ruby Bridges and her going to separate schools. We learned about Rosa Parks and how she didn't want to sit on certain parts of the bus anymore, and Wilma went through those same exact things. Wilma became the fastest girl in the world. Here is a real picture of her running. Here's another book written by her, a biography, Wilma Rudolph, the fastest woman on earth. We can see that she ran for Team USA when she was an adult. Here's her running for the Olympics. We'll see that and hear about that in this story. So let's start reading Wilma Unlimited, How Wilma Rudolph Became the Fastest Woman. This first part of the story that we're going to read about is about Wilma's birth and her family. Here's a picture of her family. We see that she was obviously one of many. No one expected such a tiny girl to have a first birthday. In Clarksville, Tennessee in 1940, life for a baby who weighed just over 4 pounds at birth was sure to be limited. Most babies didn't have 19 older brothers and sisters to watch over them. Most babies didn't have a mother who knew home remedies and a father who worked several jobs. Most babies weren't Wilma Rudolph. Home remedies means that there's something the mom or dad knows how to do at home to keep babies safe. Like, in 1940 for a 4-pound baby, probably wasn't likely that they would survive. So she was very strong from the beginning. This next section we learn about Wilma's childhood, and we learn about some hard times that are going to happen for her and her family. Wilma did celebrate her first birthday, and everyone noticed that as soon as this girl could walk, she ran or jumped instead. She worried people, though. She was always so small and sickly. If a brother or sister got a cold, she got double pneumonia. Double pneumonia is a sickness you get in your lungs. If one of them had the measles, Wilma got measles too, plus mumps and chicken pox. Jeez. Her mother always nursed her at home, remember, because of her home remedies. Doctors were a luxury for the Rudolph family. If something's a luxury, that means it's very expensive and not everyone has it. Doctors were a luxury for the Rudolph family. And anyway, only one doctor in Clarksville would treat black people. Here's that one doctor, thankfully, who's doing the right thing. Just before Wilma turned 5, she got sicker than ever. Her sisters and brothers heaped all the family's blankets on her, trying to keep her warm. Heaped means a big pile. During that sickness, Wilma's left leg twisted inward, and she couldn't move it back. Not even Wilma's mother knew what was wrong. The doctor came to see her then. Besides scarlet fever, he said, Wilma had also been stricken with polio. In those days, most children who got polio either died or were permanently crippled. and there was no cure. Polio was a sickness that you could get that was incurable at the time. Now there's a shot for it. Permanent means it would be forever. The news spread around Clarksville. Wilma, that lively girl, would never walk again. We need to remember that everything we're learning is true. This next section we're going to read about is some of the hard times that happened to Wilma and what her life was like with polio. But Wilma kept moving any way she could. By hopping on one foot, she could get herself around the house, to the outhouse in the backyard, and even on Sundays to church. An outhouse is a toilet outside. Here's her family in the car or a bus, maybe. Wilma's mother urged her on. Mrs. Rudolph had plenty to do. Cooking, cleaning, sewing flour sacks into clothes for her children, and now 22 in all. 22 kids. Yet twice every week, she and Wilma took the bus to the nearest hospital that would treat black patients, some 50 miles away in Nashville, Tennessee. They rode together in the back, the only place blacks were allowed to sit. Doctors and nurses at the hospital helped Wilma do exercises to make her paralyzed legs stronger. Something's paralyzed in your body, that means it won't move. At home, Wilma practiced them constantly, even when it hurt. Wow, that's a good skill to have. She is persisting. That was our vocabulary word last week. To Wilma, what hurt most was that the local school wouldn't let her attend because she couldn't walk. Tearful and lonely, she watched her brothers and sisters run off to school each day, leaving her behind. Here she is, stuck at her house. Finally, tired of crying all the time, she decided she had to fight back, somehow. She is at school watching kids play. You can see her leg brace that many people with polio had. Wilma worked so hard at her exercises that the doctors decided she was ready for a heavy steel brace. With the brace supporting her leg, she didn't have to hop anymore. School was possible at last. But it wasn't the happy place she had imagined. Her classmates made fun of her brace. During playground games, she could only sit on the sidelines, twitchy with impatience. Twitchy means you can't sit still. She studied the other kids for hours, memorizing their moves, watching the ball zoom through the rim of the bushel basket they used as a hoop. See right there, a basket. Wilma fought the sadness by doing more leg exercises. Her family always cheered her on, and Wilma did everything she could to keep them from worrying about her. At times, her leg really did seem to be getting stronger, and other times it just hurt. That's where we're going to stop today learning about Wilma. You'll go back to your Google Slides. You'll fill out your double entry journal about 3 things you learned about Wilma. And now 3 things that you're wondering about that we don't have an answer to yet.